So I see some familiar names joining us. If I don't know you, feel free to reach out to me after this. If I do know you, welcome, and hopefully I'll see you in person here soon. I know a few of you are already familiar with our F-Box speakers, and this is the first refresh we're doing of the line in quite some time. So the new F-Box line is going to have about 7 new models in total. It's 3 speakers that come in a indoor version and outdoor version, as well as a new sub. We're quite excited for it. It was a long time in development, and it's going to hopefully be a good seller for us. The first batch we already have came in sold out almost as fast as we could get them, and we've got a lot more of them coming in here right away. So, and overall for this webinar today, we're going to cover what's new on them, why we made the changes that we did on them, some new technology in them, as well as just new aesthetics as well. At any time, if you have questions, please put them into the chat or the Q&A. We will have time for a Q&A at the end, but by all means, put them in whenever you want. So without further ado, we'll get started here. So the new speaker systems we have, they are surface mount speakers. There are 3 main new models of the speakers themselves, excluding the sub, and that's the F03, the F05, and the F08. The naming convention is a lot easier to remember than some of our other speakers in the past and currently. The 3 is a 3-inch, 5 is a 5-inch, 8 is an 8-inch. Pretty easy to follow along. And give me 1 sec here. Slide's not sliding. There we are. So the F-Box series, we've tried to make this look as a premium end of a speaker as possible. They are nice and sleek looking. They do have some very nice design on the actual boxes themselves now. They are meant to blend into most different types of architectures and designs of buildings. So the 3 is the 3.5 inch up to that 8-inch. The woofer is a rectangular box, as you can see in the picture here. We'll cover it a bit later. We tried to design these, well, our engineers in Japan designed them over a course of many years right in-house to try to get the best sound we can to cover multiple different applications out of the smallest form factor as possible as well. So the speakers themselves come in black and white on all 4 of the different ones. The black is meant to be a medium of like a medium to gloss black, is meant to blend into shadows, meant to blend into, if you're doing it in a ceiling in a restaurant or a bar, we've tried to make it blend into shadows as much as possible without standing out. The 8-inch subwoofer is a newest product in this line for us. It's something that we haven't really offered before. We're excited for it. It's going to cover lots of use cases. We've already got some designs going out with it. They're utilizing it where it's filling in gaps where we didn't have before. So every model in the series, including the subwoofer, is designed to be compatible with both high and low impedance sound systems. That was important to us. So whether you're doing an 8-ohm sound system for a small restaurant or you're doing a large-scale 70-volt installation, all of these speakers will work across all of them. There are some nuances to the install, especially when you're doing it with the subwoofer, but there is flexibility there for all types of installs. The flexibility enables you to choose the optimal configuration based on installation location, application, and wiring conditions, ensuring seamless integration into a variety of system designs. If I go to the next slide here, you'll start seeing some of the specs. I know it's small here on the screen, so we will send this out to anybody who wants it. It is also in our newest catalog and available online. But in generalities, you're going to be looking at across the line on a 8-ohm design, you're looking at 30 watts on the F03, 60 watts on the F05. The F08 is a 90 watt for 8 ohms, and the sub is 120 watts. On the 70 volt series, we'll cover this a bit later. When you're wiring that sub in 70 volt, we do have recommendations for powering on it, just because on the 70 volt line, especially if you have it wired with like an F05 or F03 in series with them, there is some knowledge to know if you're putting the sub with them. And like I said, we'll cover that later. For the power handling, all of them, the output, I've heard them in person. I have F08, so I've traveled with me now. The sound quality on them is quite amazing. One thing we've been asked for on this lineup in the past, that was a shortcoming a little bit of our older speakers, is mounting them in a horizontal configuration. The wall mounts on them weren't exactly as easy to do with them. I'm happy to say that with the new speakers on all three of them, they have a brand new wall mount that we've designed from the ground up. It's a lot easier to install. You don't longer have to balance it on your shoulder and fiddle with it. You can set them in place, adjust them, connect everything. It makes life a lot easier. There are optional accessory brackets available for them if you are needing them for putting them on a pull mount or anything like that. But right out of the box, they come with a mount that'll allow you to do um, wall mounting in either horizontal or vertical configuration, and can also be used for sitting applications as well, as long as you don't need them hanging down low. If you need them hanging down a bit lower, there is an optional bracket for it. The subwoofer itself is meant to mount to either horizontally or vertically as well. And the wall brackets for it, there is another ceiling bracket for it if you want to hang it straight down. We think most people are going to be mounting it right flat to the wall, unless you're doing like a suspended ceiling or something like that, in which case the more L-shaped ceiling bracket you see at the bottom there will be the one that's more in use. The outdoor varieties of these, all speakers will have that classic C clamp style, just so that it is weather rated and everything like that, but the indoor versions have the new mount on. So the product concept for this, the reason we made all these changes is our last F-Box series was a very well-selling speaker for us, but it did have some shortcomings on it, some things that we requested for years. Um, Everything we did with these came from the idea of the customer's convenience. First of all, the user um, rarely chooses the speakers. It is the design office or AV contract that chooses speakers, and we try to come up with three concepts to encourage them to choose the F-Box. The first one is the design. Um, these speakers are meant to handle a wide range of work, from offices to restaurants, music venues, presentation spaces. So we wanted to make sure that they would fit into any type of environment as much as possible. The next one is the mechanism. Um, the old ones we know were a bit finicky to install. They often have to handle everything. As an installer, trying to balance them and get them installed. These new ones, once I show you the brackets in a bit, are a lot easier for the installer to do it. And then, of course, one of the most important ones is the sound. Our engineers from Japan, when we were talking to them, I was actually quite amazed on how long they spent designing the drivers for these and how many iterations they went through that design, trying to get it as good as possible, and give the best sound. These were a long time in development, and I can attest the sound quality on them is superior to our old F-Box speakers. I look forward to letting everybody hear them in person here as much as possible. So, like I said, design is one of our key factors on this. We wanted to try to keep it as minimal as possible. The more angles we add to it, the more fancy you try to make it look a speaker, the less you limit it into what type of areas it'll fit into. All of a sudden, people go, oh, that won't look good here, or else it reflects too much light when you try to hide it inside of a loft ceiling. So we've tried to make these as minimal as possible in design. They are a flat design based on our basic shape concept. By minimizing the protrusions and unnecessary embellishments, it eliminates unintended shadows, reflections that create visual noise, allowing it to seamlessly blend into any environment. We tried to keep the design consistent in the details from the speaker to the mount itself. Right from the initial planning stages, the F-Box series has been designed with a consistent aesthetic, considering the included fittings as part of the main body. Just like the main unit, the fittings feature a unified design, creating a simple and beautiful space that remains free from visual noise, regardless of the viewing angle, because we know these will be mounted above people, beside them, high, low, everywhere. Part of that is, like I said, we took into account where they're going to be installed. Um, the best place to hide a leaf is in a forest. So we know a lot of these are being put up into suspended ceiling restaurants, whether it's dark or brightly lit. We've tried to make it so they will fit in aesthetically in any of those environments. So here is one of the bigger changes outside of the acoustics of the speakers themselves, and it is how they mount. So our old mounting system, we know, wasn't an installer's dream. I come from the installing background. I know what it's like to hold a speaker up on my shoulder, fiddle with it on a ladder, trying to make sure it doesn't fall while I get the connection secure. These ones here, you now mount onto the wall, the small bracket on the back. You have the secondary part screwed into the speaker. It lifts, sits on the pole, is secure without anything having to get fastened or tightened. You can make your speaker connections, tighten it down, change your angle, all without having to worry about the speaker falling on you. And like I said, it is meant for horizontal or vertical. It is as aesthetically pleasing as we can make it without having it, again, not easy to install. The feedback I've got from it at trade shows or where I've stopped in so far has been great. Like I said, seeing it in person, it is a very robust fitting. The first time I took it out of the box, I was surprised with how heavy the fitting itself is. It's built to be put in place and left alone without having to worry about it sinking over time or sagging or letting go or anything like that. One of the requests we have for it is, like I said, fewer elements. We want it as sleek as possible. Um, so we've made the plastic and everything like that. It's not going to discolor or rust. Everything is either stainless steel or painted with corrosion resistant paint. Plastic bodies, they've been UV tested. They're going to stand up to test of time, whether you get white or black on them. And the next slide here will show you an idea of that hands-free install. Once you set it up on this metal bracket in the back, like I said, it's going to hold there. It makes installation significantly easier. I've played around with it myself multiple times already. This will show you a few different angles of it here. Like I said, if you want to see it in person, we're happy to let you have one, or I'll stop by with one and let you show it. But the installation on it is very, very easy and a big improvement over our last ones and some other ones on the market. And this one will show you a bit better on the new F box. That top right hand corner will show you what the wall bracket really looks like with a steel pin coming up. Like I said, that it is a lot heavier than I expected it to be, but that steel pin isn't going to go anywhere. And once you set the speaker down on it, you can hook up your wires, play around with it however you want, without having to worry about it moving around on you. I know a few of the names on here are very familiar with the old F boxes, so you know what the old mount was like. This is a vast improvement. And you can tell how excited we are for the mount, how much feedback we got on it from how many slides we have on it. I won't cover it again too much, but if you have questions about it, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to skip forward here. So the F1300s, 2000s, our old F box series, they weren't the heaviest speakers in the world, but they were up there. The new F box, when you compare size to size, we're looking at a 25 to 28% reduction in weight. So even though they do sound better, they have a better driver in them. We have cut the weight down on them. So it's not a huge difference, but for some installations, depending where you're mounting them, it can make all the difference in the world. And if you're the guy installing them, of course, you start installing 10, 20 of these in a row, that weight does add up. So the sound on them, TOA does have that signature sound that we talk about. And what we normally mean by that is we very much try to focus on vocal clarity. That is our main focus whenever we're designing a speaker. These ones here, especially the F05 and F08, are a two-way speaker, so they do have a more full, robust sound, but at the same time, we've tried to make sure the vocal clarity and the sound we're known for is still there. Like I said, these went through many itinerations on the drivers and the sound quality. I have the F08 in my garage beside the F3000, and when you hear them side by side, the F08 is a significantly, I won't say different sound, better sound, fuller sound. And I think most people will be quite impressed by how good these are going to sound in almost every application. So for two of the speakers, so the F05 and the F08 are two-way speakers. There is a blurb on here for anybody that's not familiar with the difference between a one-way and a two-way speaker. There's pros and cons to both. For the most part, when we're doing paging speakers or anything where vocal clarity and um, positioning the speaker is important, we will do a one-way driver. It gives you more flexibility that way. But we also understand the shortcomings of a one-way speaker when you're trying to gain fuller mid-range and bottom end. And that's why the FO5 and FO8 we have designed as a two-way speaker. The one-way FO3 still has a very full sound for the size of speaker it is, but then again, it is only a 3.5-inch driver in it. The speaker is not meant to be a full range solution for a stage or any type of audio room that you're doing. It has its place, but of course, if you're trying to look for full robust sound, go with the two-way of the FO5, FO8 is going to be a better choice. These were all designed in-house. I'm getting my slide catch up. So the speaker units themselves are all designed and built by TOA. We have our own anatonal chamber. The testing on them was significant. The FO3 especially is the best one-way speaker with sound quality and power that we have made on any model before, and we made a lot of one-way speakers. So like I said, even though it's a smaller driver, it is a one-way. The sound quality out of it compared to something like last year's F1300 or any of our other wide dispersion speakers, the F03 is a significant surprise in the sound quality that comes out of it. So here's another look at the lineup. Like I said, all of them, the FO3, FO5, and FO8 do come in an outdoor version. The brackets you see here on this slide are the indoors. The outdoor versions come with a more standardized C-shaped steel bracket just so that we can get the weather seal on it. And the sealing or the speaker connector on all those outdoor varieties does come with a weatherproof seal that goes around it. So they are fully rated for all outdoor use. Here is applications for a few of the different speakers. For people who want to care about the technicalities shown on this slide, I'm happy to share it to you. I won't go over it too much. You can see the difference in the FO3 though, with the drop off on it being a one-way. The two-way speakers, the FO5 and FO8, do of course have more power. They go louder, but they have a bit less of a drop off on it as well. Like I said, the technicalities on it, we can send you the slide, we can send you comparisons, we can send you the ease files, whatever you're looking for them, after anybody who's interested in them. But for the applications itself, because these are both low impedance and high impedance, they cover a few different things. I know a lot of you are going to be using them in high impedance installations. That's great, but they will work as an 8-ohm speaker. So if you have a small size for a small art studio, as it's pictured here, common area inside of a school or anything like that, where you want a small dedicated system, run them in an 8-ohm, they'll work great. Cafes, restaurants, anywhere where you just want light background music, even the FO3 is going to work great for it. If you're looking for a more robust sound on them, then you would go up to the FO5. The FO5 is going to be great for those restaurants, pubs, common areas inside of a hotel, anywhere where you're looking to have full range audio. You can run them in a 8-ohm if you're only going to be running 2 of them off a small amp in the back for a small retail store. But if you are going to run them in a 70-volt, they'll do fairly large spaces on them. And I'll skip ahead actually to a slide that'll show you the wiring on them. Give me one sec here. Because if you're running them in a 70-volt, so the FB08, even though it's rated for 120 watts, if you're running it in a 70-volt with other speakers, we recommend having it on a 240-watt minimum amplifier for that channel. Only reason being is the way the transformer works, it can pull more power than the 120 watts at peak sound. So just to be safe, you're better off having it on a 240 watt, but it can be wired directly in series with the FO3 or FO5. We don't recommend running it in series with the FO8, only because the power requirement on the FO8, because it's a higher wattage speaker, you're going to run out of headroom on it pretty fast. If you want to run it on a massive 70-volt amplifier, you could, but for most applications, the FO5 or the FO3 are going to be better if you're running it in series with the subwoofer. This slide is going to cover on why we recommend having that higher power amplifier. Like I said, 120 watt will work great, but because of the peak power a subwoofer can put out, if you have this turned up loud at any time, in order to make sure that the rest of the 70-volt system is working properly, we recommend going to a higher amplifier with whenever you're using the sub, even when it's standalone. So the next few slides are product details. I can go into them in fairly strong depth. But first of all, I just want to open up. Does anybody have any questions about any specific speakers or features of them that you're more interested in than others? If you do, feel free to type it into the QA while I just drink some water here. No questions or anything you want to see more of? All right. I will cover the details of them. Some of you may not be interested in this. The geeks that are into audio like me might very much be into it. So the drivers themselves are a PP cone with mica added. So in many cases, paper is used for the cone. Paper is an excellent material, but it has poor weather resistance and makes a distinctive paper sound. The Xbox uses PP, which is also has mica mixed in. PP is less likely to make material-specific sounds, and adding mica to harden it makes it easier for it to follow movement and sound signal. Gives us the lightweightness of paper, but we all know that paper speaker sounds. Some of us love it. It's nostalgic of the 70s box speakers I grew up with, but it does have a distinct sound. So we do have rolled edges on the speakers using butyl rubber. It allows it to keep moving. It doesn't weather when we use it in outdoors. It doesn't get hard and crisp when it goes hot and cold quite often. And that's the materials used across the line. This is more details on why a one-way versus two-way. This depending on the application and depending on which audio person you talk to, there are pros and cons for both. One-way speakers, because when you do a two-way speaker, the sound is going to travel at different angles coming out of each of those drivers. The way you orientate them very much does matter. On a one-way, it's not nearly as important. So one-ways are more versatile that way. You have to put less thought into how you're orientating a speaker. But from a two-way, you have much better range in audio, and you can get a flatter frequency response, which I will show you right now, actually, because it'll give you an idea of the different performance of the speaker. So this is the sound field frequency response of all three speakers. So as you can see, that's the older ones. Give me one sec. Where's my newer ones? Oh, sorry. Yeah, so as you can see, the FO3 is the blue area here on the leftmost diagram. When we compare it to the F1000, it does give a better mid-range, but it still has valleys and peaks as it is a one-way design, and it's only a 3.5-inch driver. As you move up to the FO5, you'll notice a flatter frequency range. It does have better performance in the high end than the F1300 with less peaks and valleys of flatter frequency response over that higher range, which is where we care about for vocal clarity and announcements, everything like that. And then the F2000 is a much better frequency response again, try to get as flat as possible, and it has a better low range performance when you consider the blue area compared to the gray of the F2000. So we have tried to extend that base frequency response as much as possible. And this will tell you the exact decrease in weight of all our different speakers here. Like I said, we did try to get them as lighter as possible. The F03 we've made it 25% lighter, as well as the F05. The F08, when we compare it to the F2000, we actually were able to get 28% off. So the F03 being at 1.7 kilograms is a very lightweight speaker. When you handle it, it still feels dense, but it is not heavy at all. So it makes it easy to mount in different areas. And part of that is the way we were able to redesign the driver on these. Like I said, when don't quote me on this number, but I think they went through 65 different versions of the driver itself over the years trying to design this until they settled on the one that gave the best response. So the driver design of this all done in-house at our own factories. Did take quite a long time, but the results are worthwhile. And that's about it. Like I said, I can send you all the specs and features on it. I didn't want to sit here and rattle off specs on you guys all day when you go all look it up, and I know how dry that can be. But if anybody has any questions or anything else they want to know more details about, I'm happy to answer them.
Dr. Sound.